Let me pause that. Y'all ain't ready for that yet. We got a special guest coming up. Give me 1 second. Can you hear me there, Bada?
I hear you, man. You hear me?
I hear you perfectly fine, man. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and open this up.
You mind if I smoke and roll up?
Do your thing, big brother. We are here fucking lounging, man.
Just excuse my weight, man. I had to take a little nap, man. So I had to take a little shower, get right.
It ain't even a thing, brother. We were here freaking listening to our freaking local shit. We had some music on deck. It's all good, man. I want to go ahead and introduce you to the crowd. Welcome to WVCC Cypher Life Radio. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday, representing indie and underground hip hop. We are here with the shaman himself, man. He just dropped a brand new golden album, man, for 2020, knocking fucking mad albums off of my top 10 and fucking shooting up to my top 5. Would y'all give it up? Let me see the emojis go crazy for the homie, CAMBATTA. What's good, Bata, brother?
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. For having me on, man. It's more than a grand pleasure, man.
Brother, I got to tell you, and I know that you'll be big on this. We got tuned on to you, man, through the Nightmares single with Apollo Brown.
Apollo Brown.
And when that shit dropped, because we're huge Mellow Music Group followers here, dog. I'm on the Mellow Music Group freaking pipeline and shit. So any new shit that they got, they send it to me. And I heard that shit, and I posted it up on Facebook, and I still got the post. I'm there like, save the fucking receipt. Today, I'm telling you, this is the fucking future right here of hip hop right now, dog. And that night I said, yo, you guys got to hear this on the show. And freaking, I told people I'm going to get CAMBATTA on the show. And we just started doing interviews. We had Chenor last fucking week, and I'm freaking proud and honored to have you here and my vision manifesting, brother. So thank you so much for freaking rocking with us, man.
Hey, thank you, man. I'm more than honored. I mean, those are glorious praises, man. So nothing but gratitude, and I'm humbled by your words, man.
Nah, brother, you earned it. From one MC to another, from freaking one hustler to another, brother. You are fucking killing it. And we got a room full of fucking viewers that are freaking bigging it up. We're going to have it on YouTube. Thank you to everybody tuning in on the YouTube. Go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and let's get into this freaking interview here, man. We're here to talk CAMBATTA. Bata, let us know a little bit about your background, man. Where you from? I know I've seen a couple interviews, so I know a couple of the bits of information stuff, but for my viewers here, what freaking galaxy did you come in from, brother?
Well, I'm actually originally from New Haven, Connecticut, on the East Coast, United States. Same place as Yale University, or where the Amistad slave ship landed. Right. Also where George Bush Jr. was born, and where the Skull and Bones Freemasonic Lodge is located. I was born there in 1987, so I was born right in the cusp of the crack epidemic. Family directly victimized by it. Grew up, I got into hip hop when I was about 15. All right. That's when I developed my namesake, CAMBATTA. I practiced rap all the way up until 18 years old. I moved to Tampa, Florida. I was there until 2015, when I finally came to Bronx, New York. And I just been making music the whole time, man. I came out with my first project 2009. I was Visionary 1 and Visionary 2. Then I started doing the Smoke and Mirrors series. I didn't start getting into marijuana until I was 23. And that's when I did the Smoke and Mirrors series. But that also led me into experimenting with psychedelics and, kind of just seeking more knowledge and higher wisdom. And I literally quit my job and just dedicated my life to making music. And here I am. I got my first record deal with Mellow Music in 2018. That was my first record deal in my life.
Fire.
I just turned 33 in 2020, so that's just proof that it's never too late. So, I just dropped LSD, Lunar Solar Duality. I believe this is my first official album. So it's out there now, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere, CAMBATTA.
Oh man, we are fucking eating that shit up. Yo, you unpacked a lot of shit, and I guess it's fucking fantastic that you did that. You basically laid out the map for the interview and what we're going to be talking about. Let's take it back to your first experiences with hip hop in Connecticut and stuff. What would you say was your first introduction into hip hop, and what was the transition like from fan into participant?
I would say in my household, it was growing up, it was mostly soul music, funk music, 70s music, 80s music.
Word.
It was light hip hop. My uncle was a hip hop dancer. So he was into the original hip hop, Big Daddy Kane, Coogee Rap, Rakim, KRS-One. So, I was a fan of that, Rappers Delight. I was a fan of that stuff as a kid. But I didn't get into hardcore hip hop until I was like, 11, 12, 13 years old, listening to Eminem, Big L, Cameron, Biggie was the first album I ever bought.
Word.
As soon as I started listening to rap, the first thing I noticed was the bar structure, the clever, witty aspect of it. So I was attracted to it strictly for the wordplay aspect, multisyllabic rhyme schemes. Immediately drawn to the rapping. It was second nature almost. It was like I did it in a past life.
Word.
And then I started really getting serious about writing raps when I was around 15 in high school. All right. That's when I developed the name CAMBATTA.
Did you write anything before that? Any fuck around with any poetry, or did you have a knack for writing before that?
No, I really didn't. I was always hyper creative in my mind. I was always just kind of a lucid imagination, but I was never disciplined. I was not the type that could sit down and write. I mean, even when I was younger, I would only write on the spot. Like I had, shout out to my boy Pat that I grew up with writing. He would come over, he would write more than me. He was already smoking marijuana in high school, so he was able to sit down and write. I would write when he came over.
Word.
It wasn't until I started smoking marijuana when I was in my, almost mid-20s that I started really dedicating time to sitting down writing. But it was, I just had the skill set already down. And once I fell in love with it, that was it. I knew it was the only thing I wanted to do with my life. As soon as I, 15 years old, I already knew what I wanted to do with my life.
When was your first time? We're a big MC community out here, big producer community, big DJ community. We have a solid hip hop scene out in South Florida, and we can't wait until this freaking whole COVID lockdown shit washes over. Our prayers go out to everybody out there that's going through it in one way or the other, serving the public, suffering from knowing somebody who has it or might be fighting it themselves. Our prayers go out to you. But when all this washes over, we can't wait to be back in it, man. We're bringing you down to Miami for sure, man. And we got spots all over Florida where you could come down. But we grew up here earning our stripes in the scene, because down here in Miami, it's a lot of bass music and down south trap rap. So if you like that real hip hop, that boom bap shit, that abstract shit, you got to make your stripes in the scene out here. What was it like for you? Was there a scene in Connecticut where you were growing up that you were able to gravitate to, any places where they allowed you to rock?
When I was young, it wasn't really popular. Studios were still far in between. If you did get a recording studio, it was either expensive or they weren't really suited for rap. Like it'd be some guy who recorded rock bands in his basement or gospel acts, and it can, load up your rap beat, but they don't really do a good mix job to it.
Word.
So it was really about finding your own way. When it came down to, I just really had to develop my own sound engineering abilities. So I got my grandma to get me a program called Magic Music Maker that I bought at Best Buy for like $70.
All right.
And I would use that. And I kind of developed like a little mini scene myself. I had a rap group named Gang Green. And once we started really rapping, we started seeing other schools with rap groups popping out. But it wasn't really popping. There was no real infrastructure on the internet back then. There was no MySpace, pre-Facebook, pre-Twitter, pre-Instagram, all of that. I graduated 2005 from high school. Word. I don't think YouTube even came out till 2006. So I was right before everything. So it was real grassroots. There was nothing. I think I did 2 performances up until I went to Florida. It wasn't really until I went to Florida at 18 that I started really getting into performing and getting into a rap scene with other spitters.
That brings me to my next freaking point on the interview. Your travel down to Tampa. What brought you down to Florida, baby?
So school, even though I was a gifted mind, like, you know, younger or early on, I was pretty studious, just naturally. I didn't really put any effort into it, but you could get away with that when you're younger.
Yep.
Started slipping in high school. And I actually didn't end up graduating in a typical way. So I ended up, instead of going to a university, I was looking for alternative, you know, ways to do something that has to, because I knew I wanted to do music, but of course there was no way to go to school for rap.
Be an MC, word.
Yeah, but Tampa Bay had a place called IADT, International Arts Institute or something. It was like Full Sail. It was like a little bit cheaper than Full Sail.
Word.
And it was in Tampa, Florida. So I convinced my family that, like, look, I'm gonna study audio engineering, and so I can at least record, and that can be kind of like my plan B if rapping doesn't work out. So my grandma agreed to co-sign for a loan for that, and they sent me out there at 18 years old to Tampa, Florida. And I immediately, you know, when you go to school for audio engineering, you meet other people that are there for the same thing. So it ended up being kind of like a renaissance, because it seemed like everybody in Tampa, Florida that was involved with the hip hop or the underground scene also went to IADT too, if not at that time when I was there, previous or afterwards. So it was like, it was almost like that alumni feeling. So from there was always like venues to rock at, authentic hip hop. But like you said, at that time, that was when, you know, Pitbull was just starting, Flow Rider, T-Pain, Rick Ross, the Miami hip hop scene, DJ Khaled, all that stuff was just starting 2005, 2006, 2007. So I was like a fish out of water out there, because I'm rapping with punches, lyricism. And so I didn't really fit in. I was like, I just had to really focus on myself.
You ever got down with we got a lot of fam out in Tampa and out in Orlando, the Ozone and shit. Actually, there's like right now maybe 15 heads up in our chat right now that are Full Sail alumni, and they're from all over the nation and stuff, but they all touched down to Full Sail, right? So they all vibing with what you're saying, and a lot of them always tell us about how they went up to over to Orlando to Full Sail, and they made some of their best hip hop connects from out of there, because everybody from the scene was there. Engineers, MCs coming into the studio to record over there. Did you ever get down with any of the cats from the Ozone and shit? Madness, X144 is a dude who I rocked in the Ozone early 2000. He used to throw a lot of shows out there. Migraine McNasty, Am. You ever build with any of those cats?
So Madness, I did a show with him a long time ago when he was still doing the battles, the grind time battle.
Grind time.
And then Am is a good friend of mine. Me and him have done music. I mean, he's a good friend of mine. Am is extremely talented. This guy, you know,
is sick.
He'll bust out into a head spin in the middle.
He'll fucking be busting a freestyle and then do a freeze in the middle of it, yo. We've had him down here. Am is the truth, man, and he's fucking MC hip hop embodied, man. He's fucking fantastic. So, you ever go out to any of the battles, man? There's a big battle scene out in Tampa too.
Yeah, I did. I remember when Grind Time first started, I actually did some battles in Miami.
Get out of here.
2006, I went out there, and I just went out there to see it. And they were like, if anybody we lost the contestant, if anybody else wants to try out, and all my friends are like pushing me.
Get the fuck up. Where was that? Was that the night that Recognized battled No Can Do?
No. It wasn't that high level. It was like a preliminary.
Dog, cause fucking yeah, man. I'm fucking. Whenever Mad Ills would come down here, Vice City Cypher would host them. We were connected somehow. We used to run Street Wars down here, which was the Miami Battle League. Shout out to my man LMS. He now runs Art of War Battle League down here in Miami. We tied in with the whole Battle Network and MC Network out here. So the fact that you came out here, that was gonna be my next question. You are a wordsmith, man, and what you do. I mean, you could fucking give a bear hug to a bear and crack the bear's ribs, dog. You a fucking nasty ass nigga, dog. So did you battle that night? You ever fuck with any acapella battles or on beat battles?
Back then it was still off the dome. I can't remember who I was battling that night, but I made it to the finals. I lost in the finals just because of crowd participation. But
was this like a lounge battle shit that he threw?
It was like I don't know who the host was. I wish I could remember. It was like a preliminary for a chance to get into the Miami. Probably what you're talking about with No Can Do and Matt Hills and those guys.
Word.
It was like something like, it was like next to where all the strip clubs are in Miami, downtown. It was like in a district, like a factory district. I forgot the name of the place, man. But
okay.
Cloud 9. Was it Cloud 9? Something like that.
Go.
But yeah, after that, I didn't do much battling personally. I always stayed, hand in hand with it as far as like from a visual aspect. I'm actually doing an album with Low Deluxe in October.
Fire.
And, I know a bunch of the battles, Hollow the Don, a bunch of those guys. So, but me personally, no, I just kept it to music. I'm like that level of bars and scheming, but on music.
On music, definitely. And it's fire because as a cat who follows the battle culture a lot, your music translates like that. And when I hear it, I'm here like, fuck, these are the bars that fucking shit is missing, that people sacrifice just for the matter of flow or to say something easy to keep the fucking beat going. You take it there, brother. Let me freaking go over to my next question here. 1 second. And I'm sorry, man. I got my notes here and shit. I try to be professional. New album called LSD. So let's get into it, man.
That's well, I love
it. We got it, man. We got to freaking be tight. LSD,
yes, sir.
Like the album cover, and damn, I'm going to be putting the album cover in post-productions up and stuff, but like the album cover, it's a multi-layered album and a multi-layered meaning. Just like your video, you have a million different meanings for LSD. You freaking kill that acronym, right? Right now, before the show started, I had my boy freaking hit me up. Shout out to my boy Omni, and he was there like, yo, H, thank you for sending me that LSD video, dog. I'm like, you like that shit, right? He's like, bro, how did that man come up with so many meanings for LSD? Fire. But just like that, the album has many meanings on it. Let's go just start off at the surface. Tell the people at home, man, I'm dying to know as a fellow freaking tripper and freaking adventurer in the land of psychedelia. What was your first experience with psychedelics, brother?
So like I said, I actually stood clear from any drugs or, anything like that until I was around 23, 24, when I started smoking marijuana just for the purpose of focus and relaxation, directly for writing raps. Shortly after that, I realized how magical it was, obviously, and a buddy of mine was like, look, man, you got to try magic mushrooms. And, I didn't have much preparation going into it, but I would say it was around 2011-ish. I was probably about 24, 25 when I did mushrooms for the first time, some extremely strong golden teachers. And I mean, it immediately, I had immediate symbiosis with the chemical psilocybin. I immediately saw the clouds morphing. You can see the actual, it's almost like pouring creamer into black coffee when you see the clouds in true form. And then you see the leaves moving and breathing. And the whole world, you see color for the first time. You hear the dissipation of sound, the echoing for the first time. You see humans for the first time. And then, I was, of course, faced with insanity too. Like I just kept looping thoughts, checking the time. I didn't know how it would get places. It was, and then my second time doing psilocybin, I ended up in a hospital. I had an extremely traumatically bad trip, which I would say, as traumatic as it was, those are the trips that I believe are the ones that show you the most, the ones that leave you shaking and thanking God that you can still be a regular functioning human afterwards. I've had a handful of those, a bunch of them, 2 handfuls of those. Actually, one last weekend where I completely forgot my name. I'm lucky I didn't run outside.
Holy shit.
But I've had some experiences that were completely mind-shattering, but I started dealing with them like 2011, 2012, 2013. By that time, I already did mushrooms, DMT, LSD, mescaline, LSA, anything I could really find that was some kind of naturally derived hallucinogenic, I would experiment with. And since then, I mean, I enter with extreme caution and respect. I don't do it recreationally. I do it ritually.
Okay.
And I only do it a couple times a year. This is not something to play around with. So, you know.
Question. I saw the Sway in the Morning interview. Fucking fantastic interview. You killed the freaking freestyle on that. But when you started talking about your trifecta, how you ate the shrooms and DMT and Sid at the same time. And the funniest thing for me is fucking the look on Sway and Heather B's face there. They have no idea
how to heard of these many chemicals at one time. They're looking at me like, what kind of crackhead is this?
Yo, Heather B's are like, I know cats used to smoke dust on the freaking around the block and shit, but what the fuck? When you took the trifecta, I got a couple questions from my listening audience, and my boy Charlie Fast, who's been in communications with you, he's brokered the whole deal. Charlie Fast is a much cooler cat than I am. I don't know when. Yo, Fast is fire, and he's a down to earth cat. He's mad professional. When I first heard your music, I sent you out a really long winded message. Yo, freaking, this shit is fire. I'm your new favorite, biggest fan. This and that, and you didn't even reply. And then Fast told me, yo, I sent Bada a freaking quote of his where he's like, yo, I just heard your shit. You said that you were so deep for a cop to frisk you, he's got to soul search you. Fucking blew my mind. And he wrote me back. He's like, thank you for. I'm like, he wrote you back for that. Fucking, I sent him a dissertation. That man didn't even reply. But
I apologize, man. Like I'm only on my Instagram maybe 25% of the time. My manager that you were probably in correspondence with for this is who goes through. I get extreme anxiety from that stuff, man. Like I'm not good with messages, man. I internalize everything, man, and I'm so gracious that, you know, I just get overwhelmed, honestly. But I apologize.
No, it's not even that. I was just saying it for the joke and stuff, but I'm glad that Charlie Fast was able to make connection. But he told me, yo, ask that man, please, because I got to know. Because when I was watching the Sway in the morning, this is all I wanted to know. When you took the trifecta and you went there, what did you see? Who did you see? He really wants to know, did you see the devil, and can you verify that he is actually pale-skinned and blue-eyed, right? But
okay. So first of all, the devil is not a pale-skinned, blue-eyed man. Even the concept of the devil and God cannot be encapsulated in skin. If the pale-skinned, blue-eyed man was the devil, that would be enchanting him with tremendous power. And not that a pale-skinned, blue-eyed man can't have that level of power, but it is a level of deification that no man receives. And every man that is tried failed. We all die, we all expire. We have yet to see a true superhuman man. So no.
He is not pale-faced and blue-eyed.
In fact, the devil and God are two sides of the same sink. The higher power is one of neutrality. It is one that is both good and evil, hate and love, you know, subtraction and addition, lunar and solar, day and night, sun and moon. Some men are able to, I guess, express the devil-like nature of the universe more than others, and some are able to express the God-like nature of the universe more than others. But that's not determined by race, that's determined by spirituality and will. It's just that we're living in a time that if you picked the top 10 richest people, they'd probably be white. If you picked the top 10 most successful conquerors, probably be either white or Asian. You know, either Spanish or European, or, you know, one of Genghis Khan's or Hannibal's guys. So, no, it's just, there's going to be humans that wake up one morning and say, I want to rule Earth. And to do that, you're going to be hated by many. It's always going to come off as wicked.
You think that's led because power corrupts fucking indefinitely? Once man starts getting some power, once man starts freaking getting a bit of that attention, that shit just corrupts man.
I say power corrupts weak men, yes. And most men are weak.
Work.
That's the struggle here. That's what we're playing with. And the strength of man is not by muscle or brawn or intellect. It's much simpler than that. It's the ability to let go and let God. It's the ability to love and give without wanting to receive. That level of strength, the strength to endure pain and not blame yourself or your mom or your dad or God. And that is an example of somebody that's using light. The devil comes in all forms. There's times I look in the mirror and I see the devil. I haven't been a pure angel through my life. It's just that the devil gets results first. We're talking about we're in the physical realm of manifestation, and everyone's looking for abundance. So sometimes wicked deeds get result faster. Instead of working for a car, you could just run up to somebody that has a car, put a gun up to them, and take that car. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the devil. It just means that wicked angst and urge comes from a level of desperation that either you accept it or you're unaware of. And those people in this universe balance out the good. But to go back to your trifecta question, I was in the Poconos. Me and Sensei Star, we got an Airbnb in the Poconos, and we loaded up on psychedelics. We had acid, a couple pounds of marijuana, a couple pounds of psilocybin mushrooms, and some really potent DMT. And of course, LSD lasts about 9-10 hours, shrooms last about 6 hours, and DMT lasts about 20 minutes. So basically you start off by taking, I believe I started off with shrooms. And then while I'm on shrooms and I notice how good I'm feeling, somebody offered me some LSD. At this point, I'm on both of them. You don't really feel LSD as much when you're already blasted on shrooms, but you know something else is happening. For some reason, you feel extra charged up. My brain is connecting extra patterns. I'm freestyling extra bars. And then it was like, oh, DMT ceremony's here. And at that point, when you're on shrooms, something about being on shrooms or on acid, you tend to forget what it was like to be sober. It's almost as if you're used to this experience now, and this is how you're going to spend the rest of eternity. So I'm used to that moment, and I go in on the DMT at the same time. And I mean, I'm already lucid. I'm already experiencing telepathy and psychic. I'm seeing everything before it happens. I'm hearing in the next room, everything's bending. So when you do that DMT, I mean, the first thing that happened to me is I started crying as I let out a cry from every ancestor of all time. I mean, to the point where I just had to put a pillow over my face. And then I just started seeing these entities that appeared to be gold. And these entities, when you try to notice their form, they morph. They're amorphous and mercurial like lava lamp fluid. It's focusing on them forces them to change.
Got it.
It's almost like you have to passively notice them subconsciously. And to bring back the image is very hard. I would say it's easier for a painter than a poet. The poet is the one who can translate the messages of God. The painter is the one who attempts to translate the image of God. But I will tell you that I did 3 blasts of DMT while I was on mushrooms and LSD. And I mean, time and space completely shifted and switched. I saw exactly what I have to do. I saw deep into my ancestry. I saw the pain of my grandma, my mom, my sisters. I experienced their pain. I embodied it and I accepted it. It was almost like I was, how they say Christ died for the sin of his people. Or if you've ever seen Green Mile when John
takes in the freaking black.
And
the empathy in that, the freaking taking of your birth. I feel you.
And I also use these extremely deep states of altered reality to impress deep mantra and deep intention. So when my mind is the most exposed and vulnerable, and I'm into the deepest facets of my spirit, that's when I have the conversation with God and with myself to say, this is what you have to do.
Yes.
This is what you need, and this is why you need it.
Because you're putting it into your coding.
I put it so deep into my subconscious that if I don't do it, I will wake up every morning sober, high, no matter what my state is, and I will remember what I told myself. And I just drilled it as deep into my soul as possible, so deep that my grandkids will hear the mantra haunting in their mind as they sleep. So that's what I experienced it on that trifle. Now, I could imagine if that was my first time doing psychedelics, it might have been so profound, I might have been shocked into death.
Yeah.
But because of how I did it, it honestly made the DMT experience a little better. When you go to cold, from cold, it's kind of like when you go into a swimming pool, it makes it easier for you to go into the jacuzzi or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I was already on the acid and the mushrooms, it made the transition to DMT a little smoother, I'd say.
Word.
It was almost like, oh, I'm kind of already on the front porch. All you got to do is let me in the door now. So I wouldn't suggest it to anybody, you know, straight up. It's irresponsible to mix those things. Let one do it. It's better to do a heroic dose of just mushrooms.
Mm-hmm. Or as our boy Us versus the Buff calls it, an adult dose.
Yeah, an adult dose, exactly.
Not a little kid dose. Do an adult dose. When you're describing your trip to the Poconos, I cannot help but see Hunter Thompson with a freaking suitcase and his freaking attorney next to him. Freaking, you ever watch freaking Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? It was my freaking, it was my Bible.
Of course, man. I had to go back to it to realize that was the first like real mainstream mention of DMT.
Do they talk about DMT in it?
They talk about DMT when he's in the hotel room doing the adrenochrome.
The adrenochrome with the freaking tits on his back. Damn, you got a nice pair of tits.
Before he does the adrenochrome, he does the DMT. They mix it with like cocaine or something, a little bit heroin.
Yeah,
and he's like busted out in the room. And yeah, they definitely mentioned DMT in that. And yeah, that movie right there basically frames it. A lot more, I would say, a lot less chemical than that. Like, you know, those guys were kind of just throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah, they were throwing and it's a true story too, which is fantastic. But we live. I mean, I was talking to my wife and my son the other day, and I'm like, really, since the '60s, our whole nation and every generation since has really been under the influence of some sort of substance, and we're a country made of that, and all our thoughts and our ideas and our imaginations are all stemming from that, from people who've been experimenting with everything from all sorts of substances, right? And that is to think that we are the dare country. No, we are not. We are the war on drugs country that has grown from that, and we've built ourselves stronger from it. One question I did want to ask you, because it's a question that always we ask whenever we're having the conversation, you ever tripping this, that? And whenever the conversation comes up of what would be the worst trip you could ever have, I always bring up, bro, if I ever got pulled over while I was freaking tripping and got locked up, that would be the absolute worst. To be in a cell like that, holy shit. Have you ever had because you've done it frequently, have you ever had a run-in with the law where you had to talk your way out of it or freaking anything?
Oh, there was two instances. The first one is when I did end up in the hospital. The ambulance came and got me. Somehow they got my social security out of me. They got my phone number. The police officer that was there was only there trying to restrain me. But I know at that point I was super strong. I remember lifting him up by the top of his shoulders,
holy
like
shit.
He was a mannequin. And but he didn't
Thank
hurt
God.
me, didn't arrest me. I just said that, you know, I was drunk. I don't know what happened. I just pleaded the fifth, and they eventually let me go. The second time I was on some real bugged out mushrooms. I mean, these mushrooms had me feeling like I was a zombie. Like, it was not good. Like, I felt like just a passenger in my body. I couldn't speak. I thought people could hear my internal thoughts. And I remember walking past. There was like, I often walk, me and my buddies, when we do psychedelics, we like to walk really late at night, like 1 a.m. And I was, we had a trail. It's a very quiet neighborhood. Generally, we don't see cops. But we were walking down this road and we see cops ahead and they have their lights on already. And there was like 2 cops and all 3 of us are on mushrooms. We're blasting. And we're like, oh my God, bro. And we don't, the cops are not for us. Like, of course. In reality, they're just sitting there. Maybe something happened. They could just be laughing and joking. But to us, it's doom. It's like, oh my God, there's police. And I remember he's like, yo, don't turn around because they're going to know that we're turning around. Let's just walk past so we don't look funny. And, it's a Friday night. We could easily just be like, we're walking home from the bar, sir.
But you don't feel like that. Like, they know.
Start walking past these cops so quietly and creepily. It was like holding our breath. And the cops are looking at us and we're like, hey. And
remember how to walk.
Yeah, like when we get past him, I remember my boy Pat just collapsed into the ground and just thanking God. Like he collapsed to the ground as if he just pulled his baby from getting hit by traffic or something.
That's classic.
And he was like, oh my God. And in reality, those cops they weren't even looking to stop us. But that's how much fear they provoke. They literally have a Batman belt with like 10 different weapons on it.
Bro, and thank God that happened to you in the early Obama era and not in our freaking glorious freaking Trump nation where cops are freaking super quick to shoot somebody if they go out to a what are they called? A Baker Act call and stuff? Damn, bro, we had an instance down here where they called cops out for this kid who had special needs, and his social worker was there with them, and they told them both to get on the floor, and they ended up shooting his social worker with them there. And he's like, bro, I'm the social worker. What the hell, bro? I mean, it's crazy out there, man. So thank God that in an instance like that, man, that was the real one that you got away with. But it's funny, man. Anytime that you're on something like that, we always say it. This is shit that only happens when you're in this sort of mind state, dog. It's funny. Let me go ahead and get into some of your past music before we get into the new album. You recorded a fire track with one of our gods, Cannabis, yo. One of our god MCs. We played that shit here, and I must personally say you fucking stole the show on that second verse. But Cannabis came killing it, yo. And whenever I play some new Cannabis where he's fucking destroying that shit, my audience goes crazy. What was it like for you freaking building with Cannabis? How'd you guys link? How'd you connect? How'd you make that happen?
Yeah, so the producer of the song, his name was Thanos. He worked with another producer named Domingo Padilla, who made Dream Shatterer by Big Pun.
All right.
And a bunch of other notable.
Is that KRS-One's Domingo?
Yeah.
Yeah, Domingo, hell yeah.
Yeah. He used to have that's HipHop.com, and now he has something called Media Famous.
Okay.
Him and Thanos put the song together, and they reached out and asked me to be on the song. And of course I accepted. And this is before I even talked to Cannabis. And he sent me his verse. I did my verse, and I met him, and he was so humble and like he was just so complimentary on me, and he was giving me so much praise. And he already knew about me since the Tupac murder confessions. He knew about me from 2 years prior to us doing the song. So Cannabis is listening. He's listening to rap just like anybody else would. He's literally got his ears out and he's listening to. So that's to all the artists out there. And he was telling me secret stories in hip hop that money can't buy. And I mean, he still looks young. He's still
he's
incredible, man. And he's got a family, and he gave me a lot of good advice out there, man. I mean, we met up in the Poconos too. That's where we did the video. And he's definitely one of my heroes and one of my biggest inspirations, man.
So you listen to Cam coming up and stuff when you were growing up?
I listened to him. Yeah, I mean, I got onto him. There was a recorded session with DMX, Cannabis, and Noriega freestyling on the radio, and I had that CD, and that was my first time hearing anybody rap with that level of. It was different because I was used to punching, and I was used to the Big L style, and I heard Cannabis, and he's just explained. He was like, "Yo, He said, I got the SATs the Japanese overseas can't believe.
Damn.
You know, and I was like, yo, like, that's a whole new way to look at rap. Like, it wasn't based on the rhyme or the punch. He's just explaining something. What did he say? I do a 360 spin out holding a Guinness Stout. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that, like a dude with his arm out, the car, he's holding the fucking. Yo, when I heard how bent his mind was, I mean, it was like, yo, this is, and like, I guess he senses that I'm somebody that's continuing to work. It was like the Bible couldn't get written unless it was multiple prophets had to come along and add their verses to the Bible. Yes. So, and he's very, very, very legendary. He is, man. You know, he was telling me that all of those classic raps, most of the classic raps people heard were already written by the time anybody heard them. By the time you heard Get Retarded, he had 4.5 hours of rhymes in his head.
That's
already.
Fuck.
You know, so he just downloaded.
What we didn't get from him. What we didn't get from him.
I mean, I don't even know, man. I can't. He did so much. It'll be very hard for anybody to catch him as far as like written output. I mean, he's done multiple 1,000-bar verses.
Yes.
He's the king of doing, you know, so, you know, and I got tricks up my sleeve, but I come about it differently. I'm more about stacking entendre, metaphor, simile. I'm about comparing. I'm about bridging obscure gaps and layering. I would say I'm more comparable. I'm like a fusion of a Cannabis or Lupe Fiasco
with the storytelling and taking a topic and freaking dissecting it. I could see that. Hell yeah.
And you know, Hovey Baby, Jay-Z, when he's like, you know, I did impossible, did it twice, did it once, then did it nice, get it right, you know that. But yeah, there's some legends. I'm about to work with K Reno, like I said. Sa Rock, Loaded Lux. I have one track that I did with Jordan Lucas. It's still, I still haven't released it.
I heard that you used to build with Jordan Lucas, or at least you knew him back in Tampa. I heard you drop that in an interview once. Yeah.
Yeah, he was out there literally around the same time as me. We worked with same producers. Kind of like a similar life path. But he obviously really blew up this way, and I kind of went the underground, you know.
But brother, you are at the top of the game there, man. I mean,
thank you.
Jordan Lucas still got a lot of freaking tears to go up in where he's trying to go. Brother, you are knocking on freaking the door in the underground right now, man, for some top tier shit. You mentioned Loaded Lux a couple times. We just saw Loaded Lux on a video by the Doppelgangers out in New York. You fuck with the Doppelgangers and shit, the Black Cloak fam out there?
I haven't, excuse me, I haven't heard.
Nah, man, shit. I think I'm gonna send you some of their shit. The Doppelgangers they're about 6 albums in. They produce their own shit, and they rock out with Black Cloaks on all their shit, and their shit is just real grimy, like talking about freaking going to brothels and freaking renting out the oldest hooker and stuff, and freaking talking about their gout and their freaking failing livers and shit. It's real grimy ass shit. It's dope shit. I gotta send you that shit, man. The other day I was on your live stream. I tune into your live stream all the time on YouTube, and to all my listeners, you guys gotta go. I mean, you could pause right now. You could rewind this if you want. Go to YouTube, type in CAMBATTA, go to his channel and subscribe. And CAMBATTA's live streams are freaking fantastic, man. If you like hearing the brother now and you see the knowledge he's dropping, I mean, it is nonstop gems, man. I got freaking a notebook page full of shit that you're talking about, authors you're dropping on and stuff. Fantastic. I love all your live streams. But you were talking about, yo, who do you think I should start fucking with? And I was like, man, who would he be nice with? Of course, I would love to hear you with Pharaoh Monch. I would love to hear you with freaking Aesop Rock if you fucking, because you guys are at that tier of writing. But I think you and the Doppelgangers would make some really nasty dark shit. I put that out in the universe. Let me ask you a question. Since you work with cannabis and you've already mentioned you follow the battle rap scene, did you watch the Cannabis and Disaster battle?
Yeah, I did, man. That was rough, man.
Wow. To see one of our heroes, but it shows as young up and coming cats, if you hungry enough, you could kill a god, yo.
Yeah, it's like, because there's always, it's just like boxing. It's just like boxing. I remember I was a huge Roy Jones fan, and there was that day that Antonio Tarver beat him. It was like his body and his mind weren't there, you know, and cannabis has gone through so much in the industry and his life. And when you're tapping into thoughts like that, powers that be make sure, the powers that be and the powers that don't be make sure that it's harder for you to get that across. And, you know, I just respect him for even standing up there.
Word.
Because there's a lot of legends who wouldn't have done that against somebody like Disaster.
Like Disaster, I mean,
I would not battle Disaster unless I had a couple of battles under my belt first, just because he's so, I mean, he's so confident in that shit. He's so aggressive that just his aggression alone could shake your spirit and you'll forget your rhymes, especially if you're not used to somebody screaming in your face like that. So, but yeah, it is proof that it's another discipline in that, you know, practice makes perfect. It's not like riding a bike. It's, you know, jumping in that water cold is not fun.
Yeah, man, you gotta put in those man hours. You gotta put in that work into anything, yo, because there's always somebody out there who's freaking hungry, and you got a name. Woof. You recorded. 1 second here. Let me see. All right, we talked about the Nightmares, how it was the first track we heard from you, the first track I played here. Everybody lost their fucking mind. The video for that shit is disgusting. Fucking Godfather, Holy Spirit, all three in one burrito, dog. Holy shit, dog. Yo, Apollo Brown, one of our favorite producers right now, freaking in the underground. I mean, he is all of Primo, Pete Rock, freaking Dilla, all put together in one human being, putting out some great soul hip hop. How did that connection happen, man?
Yeah, so that happened directly through the label Mellow Music. Shout out to Mike O'Toole. He's the owner of the label.
Right.
And when I signed the deal, he said, like, yo, I want to bring you out with a track before we get to the album, and I want it to be an Apollo Brown track. So Apollo made that beat for me and sent that to me. I never met him. I haven't had the opportunity to speak to him in person.
All right.
But the fact that he even gave me the beat and allowed that to happen was big enough. But I would say we'll definitely be working in the near future. You know, obviously Corona came through and swept away the world, and we're post-apocalyptic right now. But yeah, me and Apollo got a lot of work to do.
Man, that shit would sound fucking fantastic. I'm telling you, when I bought the Lunar Solar Duality, one of my biggest freaking not that I had any letdowns, but my only letdown was that Nightmares wasn't on it. But I'm here like, that's a dope ass fucking Mellow Music single though, dog. That shit fucking, I'll buy that LP by itself and fucking hang it right up there, dog, because that shit is freaking classic. And if you drop anything with freaking Apollo Brown, know that freaking I got 30 freaking 40 viewers right here that are gonna be first in line to freaking cop that shit, man.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk Lunar Solar Duality, man. Fucking fantastic album. 20 songs. The only feat
16.
Is it 16?
Yes, 8 and 8.
All right. Perfectly matched. 8's my favorite number. I love that shit. You rarely have a feature on it. Maybe I think I've heard one feature guest verse on 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then the vocalists that sing all through it and stuff.
Yeah.
But you are fucking murdering this shit for 16 fucking. I hate buying a freaking record, an album from an artist that I've been looking forward to, and you play that shit and it's a bunch of 2-verse songs and 1 hook or 2 hooks. Get the fuck out of here, yo. You could only, and dog, if you have any songs that are 2 verses long, I don't know, but if so, both verses are like 38 bars long each and shit. So
yeah. I give you 2 big helpings. You'll have plenty leftovers for later, for sure. I overcook.
Fucking fire. No, but but you make it well done, man. There's a lot of fucking dope tracks on there. Let's go into how did your decision come to release your first album on Mellow Music?
Man, I mean, I moved to New York in November 2015. I started creating LSD in January 2016. That's when I made Nigger Christ, and then shortly after I made 33 in Queens, New York. And as I was going through that process, things happened. I had this label, I was talking to this label, that label, this investor, this person. Then I met up with Brother Rich and you know, Black Magic. I did 2 Holy Ghost EPs, still working on the LSD. Did the Tupac Murder Confession, still working on LSD. I did CAMBATTA. And all of this happened while I was working on it. So as this is happening, I did Sway, I did the CAMBATTA. And in 2018, Michael Toole just hit me up in my email, just randomly. I almost missed the email. I don't, like I said, I don't check messages that much. I was just used to being denied by the industry. I had no hope that anybody ever give me a deal. I was basically
like, old Toole? No, this guy doesn't want anything to do with me.
Yeah, I'm like, I've heard so many people say that they had opportunities for me, man. I've been managed by multiple people all over the world. So, and they never knew what to do with me, man. At this point, I thought either I was delusional or maybe I'm just not fit to be in this industry. But he called me and he was like, yo, I definitely want to offer you a deal. And so I said yes, because there was nobody else biting, essentially. And I needed funds and a platform to get this out. And it just so happened his name was Michael. He's from Tucson, Arizona. And my father, who I didn't grow up with, but his name was Michael, and he died in Tucson, Arizona. He was actually killed by police officers. So everything comes back around. So, you know, it was just a moment. And then it just so happened that my album landed in 2020 during the Corona, 2020, the year of perfect vision, 2020, and the year that I turned 33, which is perfectly symbiotic with the Christ aspect of, you know, the light and the dark, and the whole, I guess, undertone concept of the album is the journey of Christ, or the journey of Heru. So it all comes together. It's all divinely written. I wasn't supposed to get a deal before. I'm supposed to show MCs that they can do this without being overly materialistic. I'm supposed to show MCs that they can do this without discipline. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be, you know, completely based on looks, and it doesn't matter how old you are. If you do something and you do it well and you pick a niche and you focus on it, it will happen. The universe will pay you off if nobody else does. And that's what happened. Now I'm slowly seeing everything that I projected. It's still slow. I still don't have thousands of album sales. I still don't have millions of views, you know, but every view that I get, I'm thankful for. You know?
And you are, brother, and you exude that humbleness in every interview I've seen you on. We got one of your interviews with, I think they're called, is it Home Sauce? Or,
yeah.
Yes, man. That interview you did with them was fantastic. We got it up on our blog spot. Going back to Mellow Music, you said you worked on all these albums before it. What was your beat selection process like, where you had to pick beats for the other mixtapes you were doing, like the Black Magic, like the Kambala, and what was it about the beats that made this album that you're like, nah, this is Lunar Solar Duality?
Yeah.
Right.
It's exactly that. It's exactly what you just insinuated by doing that. You kind of know the gold. And for me, the thread in LSD was the Christ concept. And then light and dark, you know, evil, good, that kind of duality and polarity. So like the Holy Ghost projects, those were exclusively produced by one producer. So I didn't have to dig into my personal pot for that. But yeah, I had intention. Like as I'm going through beats, I can already tell. I'm like, you know what, this is something I want to put in the LSD folder. And Kambala happened is another side album that just happened almost without thought. It just, as it was happening, I started focusing on. I put LSD to the side, and I just started focusing on the sound for that, which I wanted to have a specifically slower, more ominous, dark, cryptic, occult sound to where I knew that LSD had to be a little bit more broad and general in its energy.
Word. That's what I haven't, because it's a new era where we get our shit digitally and you just press play, and honestly I just look at the freaking LSD freaking cover art and just play it and watch that. I wish I had some liner notes with lyrics and a little story like we used to do when we used to cop the Roots albums. Rest in peace, Malik B. Who's on production on the LSD, man?
And I got a bunch of people. I got Piff James, E-Bass. E-Bass, like I said, is the bassist who did most of Blueprint. He's done tracks with Nas, Usher, Beyonce, Kanye, Gums, Batman, Matthew Godfather, Lucid Swank, Eddie Deuce, Black Magic.
So Black Magic is on the what beat does he do on the album?
He does 24 Hours. That's featuring Red Pill. So that marks, you know, me making another discovery. All of this stuff is, everything was on some kind of, I guess, invisible checklist that I had. You know, I was in Tampa. I wasn't connected to any of these people. I didn't have any industry connects. I was working with a rapper named Nino Bless. So I did, and prior to him, I was working with a guy named DJ Nice. So make impressions very lightly on the industry though. But I used to sit back in my living room and watch YouTube channels of, you know, different people. And when I moved to New York, I just had the intention of meeting these people and penetrating them with my music, essentially. And it worked. And I'm here, you know what I mean? And I just had a very specific intention on where I wanted my music to go. And if you see that and it's a void that can be filled, it's gonna guarantee to work. You just have to be clever.
Word. Dog, I was talking to my boy Charlie Fast today. I'm here like, man, the production on it, it's not your regular boom bap. It's not your regular now trap sound and beats and stuff. The whole album is just on some, it's just mood vibe music and stuff. But the three songs that stick out to me, and I'm a heavy lyricist. I'm a punch guy. I'm a bar heavy guy. So I love the nigga Christ. I love the Bones of Osiris. I love the nigga La Tesla God. Fucking your mom prayed.
Yeah.
Your mom wanted a prophet to which you would pray. She had you 7 seconds later. God, Jesus, dog.
Yeah.
That shit is fucking crazy. But the three songs on the album that stick out to me, man, is right after the beginning of the album, after Rise of the Phoenix, right? When you start going into the scales of Anubis, the new miracle, and the 24 hours.
Yeah.
The vibe changes to a more modern type sound. The beats sound like something that my 15-year-old, 16-year-old son could get into. You do the little Future freaking audio tune with it. All shit that I should hate, dog. That regularly I'd be like, take that shit the fuck off. But dog, you make all that shit sound fantastic, man. And I showed it. Imagine this. I got a 15-year-old, 16-year-old son that they listen to freaking Slump God, right? They listen to freaking to Triple X while he was alive, rest in peace, Triple X, to freaking the Little Baby and stuff. And I showed him your shit, and I showed it to him with mad confidence, not caring about all the other stuff, all the side stuff you talk about and stuff. I mean, like, you got to listen to this, because this is a cat who's spitting it in your flavor, but he's saying some shit, right? And I want my stepson to take that in and be like, yes, there's people out there that this is the style I like, but he's talking to me, right? And freaking so I showed that shit to him with confidence, man. I love those three tracks right there. The whole vibe on them. Being that you came up in the underground scene, and of course everybody as an artist has to come to a point that says, how do I make my shit a little bit more relatable to a bigger audience, of course, but what was it like making those decisions on using the auto tune, like on numerical and on 24 hours and stuff, and doing that type of vibe? What was that mind state like?
You know what it was, man? It's like it's kind of like an MMA fighter that, you know, all through his childhood he did wrestling, but then once he got into MMA, he had to pick up stand up, and all you saw was the stand up. Like a John Jones, you didn't get to see the fundamentals. And like I said, I came up on soul music and, you know, D'Angelo, Erykah Badu. So I really mostly listen to, I would say 70 to 75% of the time, I listen to soul music, funk music, and that was always my dream. Like, you know, the same way that, you know, somebody that doesn't rap might look at me, I look at those people with the same awe, like, oh my God, like that's where I get to fan out. So that's my dream, is to be able to write songs like them. And
You want to look like your thumbnail, like the Michael Jackson with the long hair, be a freaking funk
yeah,
star with that long hair.
yeah, it's kind of like all NBA players want to be rappers and all rappers want to be
The
NBA
NBA
players.
player,
Like
fire.
me, like, and, you know, I wish I could sing like, you know, Michael Jackson. So it's just about having confidence. And I just had so many people that, you know, didn't know, there was sides of me that I didn't show, and I guess I kept suppressed so there would be something to show when it was time to drop an album. And you know, that progression allows growth, it allows headroom.
Word.
So I just had to make sure I solidified my lyricism beyond a doubt before
Word.
I started experimenting with a more refined version of expression. Because the reason why we're seeing, you know, I guess the death of people trying to tout their lyricism in hip hop, popular music, is because it is not the most effective form of communication in music. The simpler the message, the more melodic the message, the better it's going to respond, even if you don't know English. So, as impressive as it is to be a high level lyricist, we're overcomplicating it. We're
Yes.
adding a lot of color to something that can be simplified to, you know, a very simple, you know, I love you, you love me,
As a
you know.
as a writer, I always found like you got boys who are in bands and shit, and they're like, yo, it's some here's this melody, write some songs, and it's a lot harder for me to write a string of 5 words that just go into a melody that can
Yeah,
carry like that. But those resonate. Some of the songs that we remember the most are just real, just playing out, but they're potent into the point, right?
yeah,
And there's a mastery in that. That's like Evidence says, freaking there's a mastery in learning the slow flow and freaking saying more by saying less, right?
yes,
And that's just another way of flexing the pen. It's another exercise, like you say. It's, you know, for an MMA fighter, it's learning a different technique, a different freaking style
yes.
and stuff. And if we're writers, and same thing, we have to learn that and stuff. There's prose and there's poetry and there's novel writing and shit. So definitely mastering it all. But I wanted to tip my hat to you because I want to let you know you are the only MC that I could fully respect on auto tune, dog.
Thank
Dog,
you,
that shit
thank
is
you. I
freaking.
appreciate
That
that.
right now I'm here talking to you, watching you speak, and all I'm hearing in my head is first you see the darkness, then you see the light, then you see the day, then you see the night. Holy shit, brother. Um, thank you for rocking out with us all this time, brother. I know I promised you an hour and stuff. I still had a couple more questions here. At the end of the album comes my highlight moments. I love Nikola Tesla. I love what else do you have? Doing numbers. Holy shit. I
Man, number theorem, yeah.
Yo, God, the grand number theorem. Oh God, Jesus, that shit. I have to sit on that, and that's what I love about the whole album, man. I could sit and rewind that shit and keep juicing that shit. That shit's like Willy Wonka's freaking never everlasting gobstopper, dog.
Stopper, yeah, my
Yo,
favorite movie of all time.
that shit is fucking just keeps giving you juice, man. But at the end, you get into Silence of the Lambada, man, and in that song, you really get honest where you point at things about your mom, right, and about your dad, about people in your family and their struggle with just reality of life and growing up in hard
Yeah,
neighborhoods during hard times. We all been through it. But in there, you really go into a deeper sense of your relationships with the different people in your family. Let us know a little bit about your relationship with your family. I know it must not be easy. Telling your family, yeah, I quit working, and a lot of us as humans, we feel like that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do to be an acceptable part of society. You got to work. You got to contribute. Right? Fuck your dreams. You got to dream just for when you're little. We let you have that time, but hey, it's time to grow up. Right? What do you mean you quit and work and to follow your dreams? How's your relationship with your family, and what does your family think, or those around you and stuff, about your career choice, and also your lifestyle choice, and the content in your music?
So that's one of the and I'm glad you asked that question, because for all the artists watching, this is the biggest struggle of them all, is this tug of war between your family and the people you love and the passion that you love, and the fact that they occupy the same amount of time and space, but you got to choose one. And it's very, very, very hard to balance the two of them. And it's very, very hard to get people around you to understand your passion, especially if it's not making you and everybody else around you rich immediately. So one thing with rap is, obviously, if you tell anybody you're going to be a rapper, it's a joke to most people. Even if you're good. And I've always been talented. I was into acting. Everything kind of came easy to me. I was very lucky, very fortunate. And
I don't know how you didn't get a roll off of that freaking I Murdered Tupac joint, dog. Because god damn, brother.
But it's I would say at first it's fun. It's fun because you're a kid, and it's like, oh man, look what he does. But then everybody starts growing up, and then people start dying, and then things get more serious, and you might get a family yourself. I didn't have a baby, so it was much easier for me to let go of life. It didn't stop, So in that song, I mentioned that there's this sacrifice that has to be made when you're trying to become great at something, or become excellent, or master something. You need solitude. You need direct focus. And over the past 8 years, I lost contact with so many friends, so many family members. That isolation, which was feeding me on my imagination and my creative thoughts, it changed my sleeping schedule. It changed my interaction with humans. I stopped picking up the phone as much. I stopped, I built up anxiety, and then I started doing the psychedelics, and everything got really weird from there. And I just really started to notice exactly what the movies have been telling us this whole time, is that when you're going for something great, just like in 300, when Leonidas has to go out to war and his wife kisses him on the forehead, and she's like, either return with your shield or on it. Basically at that moment, he knows that his life has come to the point where he's got to show and prove, and he might have to sacrifice his family. And you got to be very strong, because if you're not always involved in your family, you're going to pick up the phone one day. Your mom might be sick, your dad might be gone, your grandma might be gone. Somebody needs this, somebody needs that. And the hardest thing to do is to ignore that and be selfish. But sometimes you got to be selfish, especially if you know that you're going to be the one to kind of build the ark. You can't build the ark if you're with your family, at every Thanksgiving, at every Christmas. Word. You can't. It's very hard to do that, be that person, and master something to a highest degree in 2020 when it's already been mastered 1 billion times, and nobody gives a damn about rap right now. Like, what am I doing? I picked the hardest path I could possibly pick, and now my family knows. They know that nothing's gonna shake me, and I give them as much love as I can. And I needed to make a song like that so I don't hold on to that guilt, because I started beating myself up like I'm a terrible person. It was driving me into depression, making me not want to wake up, making me want to give up on my dreams and just die. Because if I don't have music and I don't have my family, I might as well just be dead. I don't want to work. I don't want to just be a normal functioning human. I either want to do my music, and if if I'm on this planet, I have to be able to give abundance to my family. He deserved to live without lifting a finger. There's already been enough pain. So that's kind of where I come from on this, is like all or nothing. And these were my opportunities to show, like, for any other artist or anybody out there doing anything, let go of that guilt. Like, do what you have to do. You know, there's a million regular people. There's a billion regular people doing it every day. Take care of your family first, especially if you got kids. Do what you got to do as a father, as a mother, as a son, but take care of your passions, because if you don't, you're just a zombie. You're living for other people. Yeah, yup, you're living to serve other people, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But if you're gonna do that,
the majority of people fall into that. The majority of people fall into that and aren't awake. And the problem, I think, with us who have gone into a creative outlet is that we've tapped into that and we know that that's what we're meant to do, man. And it's hard to shut that off. You know, you brought up Noah's Ark, and it got me thinking. I've never thought this before. There's a lot of things in the Bible that I'm here like, that was rewritten. That's too convenient. That was rewritten. Yeah, that shit. The story of Noah's Ark, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of bullshit in there, because I don't know any family. The kids would have been laughing at him and being like, I don't want to fucking lift this heavy wood, dog. What are we building a boat for? His wife would have been freaking bitching at him nonstop. Why do we build it? The ladies down the freaking river are talking bad about me. We got to stop doing this. You look like a crazy person. Freaking your family is never there like, yeah, Dad, we'll support you in your crazy vision. That doesn't happen, bro. Trust me. I know. But yeah, man. And it's like that. And it's that juggling act of keeping your family happy and where I'm supplying and stuff. Like, Charlie asked me to ask you that because please go out there and live our dreams, brother, and put your whole focus, because brothers like me and Charlie that got kids and stuff, where they're like, damn, I wish I could freaking quit my job and go freaking headfirst into this, but we got people freaking depending on us and shit. So we got to do what we can. But thankfully to the internet age, we're now able to do this from the comfort of our home, promote your music, and freaking still be in love with the culture that we love, man. One last thing, and I think you've touched on a little, but I want you to freaking deliver the message to the people out there listening. CAMBATTA, what drives you, man? What was it that you saw on one of those trips that freaking told you this is what you're supposed to be doing, that made you say, yeah, I have to sacrifice everything else? Because just like you said, every day I wake up and something inside of me saying, I got to do this. What is that thing that freaking pushes you, brother?
I have to break the chain. I have to be the outlier. I have to be the one that, or I have to be the version of me that ceases to continue the loop. I can see my psychosis. I can see exactly where I fail, how I failed, and why I failed every other time. And I know exactly how not to fail. So my one goal is to be the one to achieve greatness in a way that inspires others to achieve greatness in an easier way than I had to. I'm clearing the path, a new path. I see all the other paths. I acknowledge the other paths, even the hard paths. I decided to go with a path that was unpaved, on a mountain that has many paths. Like, there's been many hip hop artists before me. I chose to use this edifice. I chose to use this form of technology to do somewhat of a, I guess, a modern contemporary version of gospel, to give people a, I guess, a metaphysical compass and template and measuring tool to guide them in a, I guess, a more natural, self-resonating way. And it's not because I'm some good Samaritan, I'm just, an angel trying to give people things. I believe that gives me the greatest gift of satisfaction. And I believe the only reason I'm getting these downloads and I'm able to express these bars is because I'm doing it for that reason. To be selfish is to selfish. To be selfless is to teach one how to fish themselves. It's the one that sells you the fish that's selfish. That's why that word is spelled like that. So it's the one who can teach it that will then go into the books and be sought out as a great mind rather than a great swindler. And I know when I go to the other sides on psychedelics or when I go into my mind just to receive bars, that I'm dealing with divine revelation, just like the people who wrote the Bible. I don't take it for granted. We take these downloads, we're so used to hearing profound thought that it don't affect us no more. We are very, very lucky. Like these rappers, these poets, these orators are downloading the word of God, and it's coming down scrambled for most people. But I have taken the intentional purpose of equipping myself with the most divine words. So that way, when I receive the downloads from the Akashic files or records, wherever it may be, that I get the most accurate translation, and I can decorate it and package it and fold it and rhyme it in a way that is enjoyable and entertainment to those people hearing it. Because you as a listener, anybody listening, knows that when you put them headphones on, my voice becomes your voice. You are the one saying me. I'm saying it, but it's you saying it.
Word.
I'm speaking what you already know.
What I'm saying in my soul. Yes.
That's it. That's the only reason why you know what I'm talking about. Yep. And that's why you're going like this. That's why we laugh at comics on the stage, is because they're giving you a weird relation point that we're otherwise embarrassed to mention.
To say ourselves.
Yeah, that does happen when I'm taking the shit.
When you said Jehovah and Lucifer, both speak with the same voice. Yeah. I was like, fuck, bro. Yes. But I could never say that to my pastor. Yes, man. And that's what you do. You give voice. And now my soul says constantly, Bata. What does CAMBATTA mean, man? Let's leave them with that. Bring it back.
Originally derived. My name is Cameron. Yeah, so my name is Cameron. People call me Cam. Originally, when I first picked up the mic, people were calling me Killer Cam, but we know that there's already a Killer Cam. But like I said, my uncle was a pop locker, a break dancer. And if you know Planet Rock or Looking for a Perfect Beat, that was made by a gentleman named Africa Bambaataa, and who's now associated with some very heinous sexual pedophilic acts. But when I was 15, Joel Santana had a song named Santana's Town, where he said, I'm old school like Bambaataa, no man's hotter. And I remember writing my remix version of it. My name is Cam, and I've always liked playing around with names and putting my, like, Jean-Claude Van Cam, yes, or Green Eggs and Cam. It was like CAMBATTA instead of Bambaataa, and it just clicked. It was like, bam. And my family was already into African sciences and stuff like that, so it just worked. And now that I look at it, Africa Bambaataa was a hip hop pioneer that eventually touched children in an inappropriate way. CAMBATTA is a hip hop re-pioneer that touches children in a positive mental and spiritual way.
Bam, bam.
Without any sexual perversion. So I am created in the presence of the opposite. I came to heal the wound.
Teach them to fish, brother.
That's it.
Teach them to fish. Yo, Bada, we're going to freaking say bye real quick. Can you do me a huge favor, man? We just ask all our guests to go ahead, represent yourself, say who you are. Let them know you're rocking with WVCC Radio, Scythe Live. Can you do that for us, brother?
Yes. This is CAMBATTA, the shaman, the God, the Lord, the crack baby. And I'm here with WVCC. WVCC. Okay, hold on. WVCC. Okay, let me start over.
Do it.
It's CAMBATTA, the shaman, the crack baby, the Lord, and I'm tuned in live with WVVC Radio, Scythe Life, the dopest radio channel on the planet and in this galaxy. And we're just smoking, talking, walking, chalking, like Stephen Hawking.
CAMBATTA here. Thank you so very much, brother. Yo, all my viewers right now, CAMBATTA, where do they get the new album? Let them know. Y'all got to go and cop this shit. Bless the brother. Right now, we're going through a pandemic. This brother has chosen to leave the 9 to 5 to give us gems, y'all. Bless this brother. Cop the album. Where can they get that shit, Bada?
www.cambattamusic.com. You should see the name in the description, CAMBATTA music.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter at CAMBATTA Music. Excuse me. It's my music, LSD Lunar Solar Duality is all over iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. Very easy to find me on YouTube. Just type in the name CAMBATTA. Please support.
Wow.
Thank you.
Salute, brother. I'm going to hit you up through Messenger. We're going to get back to the music. Thank you so very much for rocking with WVCC, brother.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor, brother.
By the way, man, I never introduced myself. My name is H2 Owens. I am your host. WVCC Radio catches every Tuesday and Thursday. Bata, bam. We are family now, brother. Thank you for coming by the cypher, brother.
Peace, peace.
Be good, man.